Next on Worcester News tonight, a new woman president at Anna Maria College for the first time in 20 years. And the child known as Baby Doe now has a name. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Olivia Lemon. We begin tonight in Paxton as Mary Louise Vertel is inaugurated as the 11th president of Anna Maria College. Vertel was named president of the college back in June. She is the first woman to serve in the role at Anna Maria College in more than 20 years. Students, faculty, and even the lieutenant governor were in attendance at today's ceremony. Vertel addressed the crowd, stressing that her main goal was to ensure students at the college received quality education.
My dedication to Anna Maria College will support our ability as a community to embrace the changing environment and emerge a thriving institution.
Vertel first came to the college in 2011, serving as the executive vice president. After 3 long months, the body of a little girl found on the shoreline of Boston Harbor finally has a name. Tonight, we're learning her name was Bella Bond. Her mother and her mother's boyfriend have both been arrested. The mother's boyfriend, Michael McCarthy, has been charged with murder. The mother, Rochelle Bond, of Boston's Dorchester neighborhood, has been charged with accessory to murder after the fact.
We allege that McCarthy caused Bella's death, that he did so intentionally, that he and Bond took specific steps to keep Bella's death a secret and to avoid prosecution.
The girl was 2.5 years old when she died. Her body was found on June 25th inside a trash bag on Deer Island in Winthrop by a woman walking a dog. A search warrant was executed at Rochelle Bond's home yesterday. Our Alicia Rodriguez has more on that angle of the story.
A little girl tossed aside, nameless, and seemingly forgotten by her family.
It's so sad.
Now we know she was Bella, a toddler who loved Hello Kitty and at one point seemed very loved by her mother. Rochelle Bond posted this video of Bella's 2nd birthday on Facebook. But it would be the last birthday the toddler would celebrate.
I haven't heard her running around, crying, nothing. Her room's right next door to mine, and I haven't heard any sign of the little girl at all.
Their neighbors on Maxwell Street in Dorchester say they did notice that Bella disappeared a few months ago.
She's a beautiful little happy kid. And you know, sometimes there's kids there, sometimes there ain't kids there, so I ain't paid any attention.
They assumed that, like Bond's 2 other children, she had been taken away by DCF. Bond does have a criminal record. She was charged with prostitution in 2010, and her neighbors suspected she had other problems.
I didn't acknowledge that, you know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, she's a little baby, you know? And plus, when they said Deer Island, I figured it was out there.
Those who didn't know Bella Bond but say they felt a connection to Baby Doe came to honor the child at her home, each citing the same reason for coming.
I'm a mother of 3. I got 3 kids.
I'm a grandmother and a mother.
And that was Alicia Rodriguez reporting. A Worcester man who was arrested on child pornography charges was an employee of the Worcester Public Schools. Alexander Johnson was employed by the school department as a substitute cafeteria worker. However, the charge against him doesn't involve any children or students in the Worcester Public Schools. The 22-year-old Johnson was charged earlier this month. He's due back in court in October. There is no comment from the superintendent's office. Worcester police arrest a 22-year-old man. They say he deliberately struck a bicyclist with his car last month by Murray Avenue and Piedmont Street in the city. The driver, Anthony Davidson, now faces multiple charges. Police used surveillance video from the neighborhood and say Davidson was following the bicyclist and intended to hit him.
Operator got out of his vehicle, looked at the hood of the vehicle where the man put his hand on, and there was no damage or anything. He just placed his hand on it. I got back in the vehicle and did a U-turn right in the middle of the intersection, going through the red light, and then pursued the person on the bike, catching up to him, and then knocking him off his bike with the vehicle.
The victim, a 62-year-old Worcester man, suffered broken bones as a result of being hit. Pope Francis is set to visit Philadelphia next week. He will be taking on a variety of issues when he arrives, and as he carves out an identity for himself as head of the Catholic Church, he's appealing to a younger audience. Our Jeff Saperstone has more on how the Pope is altering the religion's image.
Climate change, human rights, sexuality. Expect these hot-button issues to be front and center when Pope Francis visits the United States.
He's not shy. I think he is not afraid of taking positions.
Father James Bretsky, professor of moral theology at Boston College, says even though many of the issues Francis talks about are controversial, he believes the Pope isn't trying to seek out that controversy.
I think he really does try to be a bridge builder, but he recognizes that the status quo is not a good place to remain.
The pontiff is visiting Washington, New York, and Philadelphia. Millions are expected to see him in person, including Father Bretsky, who is no stranger to papal meetings. Here he is with Pope John Paul II in Rome in 1993. And much like John Paul II, Pope Francis's hands-on approach and personal style has been lauded by many Catholics, especially young people.
You see him all over social media, like he has a Twitter, and every time he goes anywhere, people are taking selfies with him.
That Twitter account has more than 7 million followers. These Assumption College students from Worcester, Massachusetts are among the dozens planning to take a bus to Philadelphia to attend the large mass celebrated by the Pope.
He has certainly brought a different and fresher perspective on certain controversial issues such as gay marriage, sexuality, stuff like that.
Early into his papacy, Francis said, if someone is gay, who am I to judge? The pontiff also recently changed the church's stance on marriage annulments. Sophomore Alex Serbo says he's encouraged by the changes and thinks others his age are too.
I think it's attracting younger generations to the church more, his willingness to be more open about such issues.
And in doing so, that's bringing more people back to Catholicism. Father Bretsky says it's more than just about returning to church on Sundays.
How many people are attending to what the Pope says? What kind of an awareness do they have? Clearly, there's a big uptick in that.
A Pope reaching out.
There's something about being a part of this once-in-a-lifetime thing, and you'll always remember that, and you'll remember the people that you were with.
And that was Jeff Saperstone reporting. The excitement is growing among area Catholics. Hundreds from central Massachusetts are planning to attend events with the Pope next week. Our Andy Madison reports.
Next week, Pope Francis arrives in the United States on a historic trip taking him from New York City to Philadelphia and Washington, D.C.
I think that it generated a lot of excitement amongst the faithful because he's a very popular figure in the world, really.
Allison Ledoux with the Diocese of Worcester is among many Catholics jumping at the chance to hear the Pope speak in person. She is traveling with a group of more than 200 Catholics from the local area to Philadelphia. Some are going to be there for the World Meeting of Families events that start Tuesday, while others will be there just for the weekend Mass with the Pope.
Just to be part of that whole experience where, in the presence of people who are sharing that and celebrating that common Catholic identity that we share is, I think, very exciting. It's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
What's he going to say? What's going to happen? What's going to be different? He's known to not always follow script, so it's exciting for people to be there.
The diocese is also using the Pope's visit in the classroom.
When he comes, he's going to be canonizing Junipero Serra. So what is a canonization process? What is a saint?
Pope Francis will meet with President Barack Obama, address Congress, and then head to the United Nations in New York City before finishing his trip in Philadelphia. Religious Education Director Elizabeth Marcille says his visit is a good opportunity to teach students important values they can use outside of the classroom.
I think the logo for this, Love is Our Mission, is the Pope's bottom line message.
A message the Pope will deliver in the U.S. for the first time next week. Andy Madison, Worcester News Tonight.
And the president of the College of the Holy Cross will be there when Pope Francis makes a historic address to Congress next week. Congressman Jim McGovern announced Father Philip Burrows will be his guest for the Pope's speech to a joint session of the House and Senate. A young Worcester man is achieving success in his studies and his career field. It's thanks in part to a nonprofit program he learned about while in high school. Our Patricia Nicholas has his story.
To some people, a pair of Timberlands are just a pair of shoes. But for WPI mechanical engineering major Hector Rivas, it's a testament to how far he has come and where he is going, thanks to Bottom Line.
When I was in high school, I never had a pair of Timberlands, and I saw a lot of guys, that they were like wearing their Timberlands, and I never took that, against my parents, because I know that they didn't have the money. But instead, I continued education.
Hector was born in El Salvador. He came to America with his parents when he was just 11 years old. When he got to high school, he was encouraged to apply for Bottom Line, a nonprofit which helps low-income and first-generation students get into college and go far in life.
Every semester they're saying like a postcard saying like, hey, you can do this, you got this, get the finals out of the way, And it's more like a lot of moral support and a lot of, like I said, a support system. And at some points, they can even be like your second parents. They get to see your grades, right?
Through Bottom Line, Hector acquired an internship at National Grid. He's worked there for the last 2 summers. National Grid helped bring Bottom Line to Worcester. And Sustainability Hub Manager Colleen Gardner says it isn't your typical internship.
There is no coffee in this picture. If they want coffee, they're getting their own. They're not getting anybody else's. They are actually out there working with the engineers and working with the technicians and learning about what National Grid does and how we keep the lights on.
Hector has finished his last summer as an intern with National Grid. He hopes to continue to pursue his career path in mechanical engineering. And as an added bonus, his profession requires him to wear Timberlands for work, a daily reminder of how far he has truly come.
To this day, I wake up every morning and I say like, wow, like I'm really here,
Hector will be graduating May 2016 with a degree in mechanical engineering. He doesn't know where he wants to work yet, but he did say he eventually wants to join the armed forces to repay the country for all the opportunities that he has been provided. Patricia Nicholas, Worcester News Tonight.
Thanks, Patricia. It's only been available for 2 days, but the state's new $20, $10 million big money instant game has its first winner. John Altiff of Worcester selected the game's cash option and received a check for $6.5 million. He says he plans on buying a new truck and taking his family on a well-deserved vacation. Altiff bought the ticket at the 7-Eleven on Grafton Street. The store will receive a $50,000 retailer bonus. There are 4 $10 million prizes and 15 $1 million prizes remaining in the game.